So you want to buy a home, but you don't know exactly where to start. And I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. You know, most people think of buying a home for a little over a year without telling anyone. They constantly research online, they run mortgage calculators, trolling housing apps, looking at new listings, and trying to see what recently sold. And for some, that dream stays right there, stuck in their own head as they're paralyzed in fear and confusion of what to do next. How do they find a lender? What realtor should they use? What if they don't even qualify? Should they even do this? In this video, I'll bring you some much needed clarity to the entire home buying process. We're gonna go step by step through all the important milestones, all the way through closing on your new home. Now, I'm not gonna go super deep into every single one of the topics in this video, as I'm just gonna scratch the surface and give you a general framework to follow. But my goal in having this channel is to promote financial literacy for all aspiring homeowners, so be sure to click the subscribe button below if you'd like to learn more. Owning a home is unique in that it serves two primary purposes in life. For one, you need to live somewhere. If you don't own a home that you live in, you're either living with family or you're renting from someone else. And if you're renting, that means you're paying money every month for the right to have shelter for the next 30 days. It's a very simple contract. And when that contract's over, you take nothing with you but your furniture and maybe your dog. When you own a home, your payment includes principal, which pays the loan down over time. And you also hope to see property appreciation, meaning as time passes, your net worth actually grows. With all that said, the first step of buying a home is to figure out why you want to buy a home in the first place. Is it for long-term stability? Are you raising a family? Is it a short-term pit stop that you're going to flip into a long-term rental? Or is it something you plan on selling in just a few years? You know, the answer to this discussion will help you work through the next step, which is defining your budget. The budget discussion is a big one, and quite frankly, it's the one topic I get most questions about. Many ask, what should my housing payment be? As if there's this magic number that your mortgage payment should be. Given this is such a complicated topic, I did a deeper dive into budgets in this video, so if you want to dive into that, just click or tap the screen so you can learn more. When thinking of your target payment, be sure to include the principal, the interest, the property taxes, the home insurance, and any HOA payments that are required. And keep in mind, when you own a home, you also own the responsibility of repairs. A budget discussion should also include projecting the future, and in some cases, factoring in debts that'll be paid off, understanding mortgage interest tax savings, maybe even pay increases. And in other cases, debts that you might have to add, like a new car or childcare or school expenses. You also need to make sure that you're saving enough money for retirement, such as funding your 401ks, IRAs, and mutual funds. Keep in mind, when you close on that mortgage, that payment is with you for a very long time. So do yourself a favor and put a lot of thought into what the ideal payment is for you. And once you have that monthly payment goal, you need to think about how much cash you have to use as a down payment. Keep in mind, life is great at throwing us curveballs, so make sure you build a financial cushion for all those what-if scenarios that might come your way. I want you to think of things like medical expenses, or a broken fridge or a washing machine. With your desired monthly payment and cash goal in mind, you can now take the next step, which is to speak with a lender to get pre-approved. One important thing to note, and this applies to every profession that I'm going to explain in this video. The good, the bad, and the ugly exists in every profession and every company. In other videos, I explain how to source top talent in your area, but generally speaking, referrals from friends, family, and work colleagues should be a great place to start. Now back to the lender discussion. There are two types of lenders out there. Most believe the job is to tell you what you are capable of doing based on your credit, your income, and your assets. You have a desire, can I buy that house? And the lender believes their job is to say whether you can or you can't, or that you need to adjust your price point. Now, other loan officers are going to view themselves as true advisors. Think of someone that's a combination of a CPA, financial advisor, and then a mortgage loan officer. That's what my team consists of. We're certified mortgage advisors. We help clients come up with their ideal budgets. We talk about tax savings, dig a little deeper into how life might unfold, and focus both on what you're qualified to do using current underwriter guidelines and mortgage rates, but more importantly, helping you focus on what you should do, not just what you can do. Those two things are very, very different. Through that conversation, you will work through a full pre-approval. I always prefer to do the underwriting before you find a home, with a full review of your income, your assets, and all your other documents. It's best to have underwriters sign off on everything early so you're not relying on a loan officer's judgment. However, many lenders rely solely on automated systems and based on what you tell them. Mistakes can happen there, but there's an argument that some can confidently follow that path. And with your pre-approval in hand, you can now jump to the next step, which is choosing your realtor. Now, in some cases, you may have started with this step based on a recommendation. Those two steps, speaking with a lender or a realtor, I believe are kind of interchangeable. In the end, they both need each other. The realtor needs to know your price point and your contract strategy, and the lender, well, they just want to make sure that you're with a competent realtor that will help guide you through the process while specifically keeping all of your goals in mind. So what should you look for in a realtor? I think there's actually a personal and a professional component. Personally, you want to like them, like a friend. You'll be spending a lot of time with these people looking at houses all around town, and you want to make sure that you get along and that you see life somewhat the same way. I've seen many long-lasting friendships as a result of choosing the right realtor connection. But while it's great to work with a friend, I believe professionalism and knowledge is way more important. The realtor you hire needs to understand the market, how to write winning contracts, how to negotiate, how to manage the entire process. You know, top agents have a very strong network and a reputation in the community for being ethical, meeting deadlines, and working with top service providers, which we'll talk about in a second. They're also known to make deals happen and get things done. That's what sellers want to see. The more competitive the market, the more you'll probably have to tell your friend or Aunt Susie, who sells maybe 1 or 2 houses a year, that this decision is probably just too big and too important to not have a top professional. Now for the fun part, and that's house hunting. Your realtor will likely have an app of choice that they like to use, and some even come with one-to-one communication where you can actually leave your notes on what you feel about a house, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and you might actually prefer to use Redfin or Zillow or Realtor.com. Just know that those platforms are first and foremost advertising portals. They want your eyeballs and desires to buy a house, and they want to turn that into revenue for their company. If you click a button that says, send me more information, they send that click to realtors, lenders, home inspectors, and basically anyone that pays for it. Your phone and your email is then destroyed by all the spammers. Now, if you've had this happen to you, please comment below and just share your experience so others can kind of understand how that works. And be sure, do yourself a favor. If you have a question, direct all of those back to your realtor and your lender. They are your resource. The home search will include all the pricing parameters that you worked on with your lender, and your realtor will have a list of all of your must-haves. They'll probably begin dialing their network to see what they can find, and in some cases, even an off-market deal. Eventually though, you're gonna find that perfect house. Now this next step is probably the most stressful, or at least in low inventory, highly competitive markets, and that is writing your contract. The real estate contract is the document that's presented to the seller illustrating your terms to buy the home, how much you're willing to pay, when you want to close, what contingencies do you have. When there are many bids going in from others, the stress is in waiting to see if the seller thought your bid was the best. You know, there's an art to crafting winning contracts. That's why I'll always say the more competitive a market, the more you need top talent on your side. The pricing strategies might include something called an escalation clause. Think of buying something on eBay, where you bid on something and you say, you know, I want to pay X, but I'm willing to pay $5,000 more than someone else, but I'm not gonna go over Y, right? You kind of give a range, you're gonna pay more than someone, but not to exceed. And then the lender in that case is involved just to make sure that your escalations and your contingency timelines or waivers are being considered so you're not adding additional unknown risk. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna assume that you have all of the standard contract contingencies, just so we can kind of highlight how all that will work should your contract have them. Now, here's a quick pro tip. If you want to avoid making all these decisions in this hyper emotional last minute state of mind, make sure your realtor goes over that full contract early in the process so there are no surprises. You can think with a clear head and hopefully win that house that you're so in love with. So now you've won and the house is yours. The first thing you want to do is celebrate, but there's still a process that you have to move through until you get to that finish line. The contract comes with a deposit requirement called an earnest money deposit, or EMD. The settlement company you choose, which was likely referred to you by the realtor or the lender, is who collects the deposit and holds that in escrow. Now, this settlement company will be a central point of contact for all parties involved. They receive all money, disperse all money. They're in charge of releasing liens that the seller has and of course adding yours for your new mortgage. Now in most states, the settlement company fees are somewhat standardized, specifically the title insurance. So while I encourage shopping around, I generally defer to the recommendations of the realtors and lenders. They tend to know the best providers in the area, and as long as the fees are the same, which they generally are, I do believe their recommendation is best. Now let's focusing on clearing your contingencies. Your contract likely came with timelines to clear the things you said you wanted. I like to say contingencies are only if clauses, right? So I want to buy your house, but only if I like the home inspection, only if my loan gets approved, and only if the property appraises for the sale price. Those only if clauses come with completion dates. It's best to get moving on all of those right away, so you can just get laser focused on packing your house and preparing for your next big move. Now I'm gonna breeze through the standard contingencies just so you have an idea of what to expect. The first is the home inspection. This is where you hire a licensed inspector to go through the entire house to point out deficiencies and give you economic life of all the major utilities. If you see things you don't like, you just simply refer to your contract to see what options you have. In most cases, you can simply back out altogether or just reopen negotiations. You can demand they fix something or give you money to fix that same thing yourself. There are many types of inspections: pest, termites, well, septic, radon, pools, roof, you name it, there's an inspection for it. Your realtor will walk you through the inspections that are generally required for that home and specific to that area. Next is your financing contingency. Now, hopefully you did all the work up front, but if you didn't, this is when you get engaged with your lender to begin the official process. You'll choose your final loan structure, lock in the interest rate, and sign the official government disclosures. Once you upload all your documents, such as pay stubs, bank statements, W-2s from the prior year, things like that, the lender will work with their underwriting team to clear your loan for closing. The lender also controls the next contingency, which is the appraisal contingency. Regulation says the lender is responsible for ordering the appraisal. The appraiser is going to go out to the property, measure the home, look at the condition and the upgrades, and compare that house that you want to recently closed sales nearby. The appraiser will give the lender a report of their suggested value, but it's up to the lender to underwrite that appraisal to make sure that they don't feel the value is stretched. Just because the appraiser gave a home value doesn't mean the lender's going to agree. And next is your HOA document review. If your property is in part of an HOA, like a condominium or a planned development, you usually have a few days to review the documents to make sure that you find the rules of the community acceptable. Now, most people focus on the rules, but what I would tell you to focus on is the financials. Make sure it's well run and that you know of any special assessments or things being planned for the future that could impact that fee. And now it's time to get your home insurance. This topic has been getting a lot more attention lately due to the increased premiums some are seeing around the country. Start shopping your home insurance early, and don't be surprised if you see vast differences from company to company. Your lender likely has some good contacts for you, and in the end, they will be required to review your policy to make sure you are insured properly. Now, once you get through all the contract contingency and your lender says your loan is cleared to close, you're pretty much at the finish line, but not quite. Your lender will complete a final verification of employment and will likely have a credit monitoring service checking to see if you've opened up any new credit all the way up to a few days before closing. So before you make any big life changes like a job change or buy a new car, talk to your lender first. Cleared to close means you are cleared for closing if nothing changes. Now, while your inspections are being completed and the lender is doing their job, you should focus on the move, packing up your old place and preparing to move to the new one. This could include hiring moving companies, getting boxes, tape, bubble wrap. You also need to think about the utilities that you need to transfer, such as your gas, electric, internet, or home security systems. And now the big day, closing day. You'll go to the settlement company to sign a bunch of papers. Now, most of them you've probably already seen from your lender, and the home is now yours. You locked in the price, you locked in the housing payment, but there is so much more to this real estate story. In this video series, we're gonna dive into all these topics we just went over in full detail, so you can become an expert home buyer. And please, if you found value in this video, hit the like and subscribe to this channel so the YouTube algorithm will deliver this home education playlist to others who are just like you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.